Hey y'all, it's your girl, the real deal, Lanita Hill. Yeah, yeah. Shout out to my early morning, night, noon subscribers and people who watches my channel. People, I'm back with another reaction, and I'm working this summer, having fun with y'all. And there's some things that I want to talk about. People, it is important that I educate you all. I can try to educate you all with a little words that you all been hearing in the case so you can understand the case a little more, okay? The Kanika Jenkins case, okay? We have spoken about, let's get a recap. I have described to you all, I have distinguished between fact, opinion, and belief to you all, right? And I told you all the difference between mental health and mental illness, correct? Now, we are going to talk about what's the difference between the toxicologist and autopsy report, okay? And then you ask yourself, why is that so important to the real deal, Lanita? It's not only important to me in this case, it is important to my people in this case, okay? I am here to describe to you all the difference between Kanika's toxicologist report and her autopsy report. Now, people, if you don't want to listen, you don't have to. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. But it is my place as a reaction channel to make y'all understand what's going on in the case, okay? And I appreciate that. Okay. First, I want to start out differentiate between an autopsy report and a toxicologist report. When you speak of an autopsy report, you are speaking on the external and internal examination of the person that we are talking about in this Kanika. We are talking about the inside and the outside of her examination, okay, on her body, okay? To determine the cause of her death. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The autopsy examination will tell you what's going on, determine the death of Kanika's body from the in and out. X and in, external. Is the of Kanika's body to determine the cause of her body. So one is the cause of the body, okay? That's the autopsy. The autopsy is going to tell you the cause of her death. Now, y'all understand that, right? So don't forget what I'm telling you. Okay? So the autopsy is going to determine the cause of death. Now, the toxicologist report is the analysis. Okay? It's the analysis of the body. It mainly looks for, it determines whether that person had any poison, any bodily fluid. You know, the toxicologist can give you the results of the bodily fluid in the person, okay? In the deceased person. It can tell you if they had drugs, were they poisoned. It can tell you if they had alcohol in their system. It can tell you when she died. Okay? So to make those two definitions easy for my people, I would say that toxicology on a deceased report will mention what did they find bodily fluids, what's in her body, what did they find in her body, okay? It's the fluids they found inside the body. Let's make it easy. So toxicology is the fluid that they found in the deceased body. Okay. Now, if somebody asks you, how would you determine what's the difference between autopsy report and the toxicologist report? And what you're going to say is the autopsy determines the cause of her death. It would tell me what happened to her on the inside and outside of that. Was she raped or anything? And the toxicology would tell me what did she have, her bodily fluid, okay? It determined whether the person had any poison in her body fluid. So now that we know the differences between autopsy, with the cause of death, and toxicology, the bodily fluids found inside the body, now we're on the right page, okay? Because I know y'all don't understand how people be yelling at you, okay? Okay. Don't forget them two. Toxicology is going to explain the fluid in the body, drugs, anything in the body. And it's just going to determine the cause of it. Okay, let's move it. Okay, let's move that out. Okay. Now, before I get to the major part of, hold on, y'all. Hold on for a second. Let me try. Now that I'm about to get into my content, I felt that I needed to tell y'all the difference between autopsy and toxicology's report. Always remember, one means what the cause of death, and the other one, toxicology, is the bodily fluid. What kind of fluid? What's in the drugs in the system? Okay. Now, I'm about to explain more of the autopsy report on Kanika. Okay. It's very important that I explain to the people out there and from around the world what happened with her autopsy report. Okay. Number one, I'm looking at my notes, y'all. I have to take notes. I'm not smart like y'all. Okay. On number one, it said on her autopsy report, the cause of her death was her brain swollen. Number one, no specific cause of death. Y'all listen very carefully. Number two, her blood level was 0.112, higher than the legal limit of 0.08. It was higher than illegal driving. It was too high. Number three, on her autopsy report, the alcohol and drugs can enhance each other. Y'all know that. The alcohol and the blood and the drugs can enhance each other. We know that. Okay. On Kanika Jenkins' autopsy report found no evidence of an altercation with someone else before her death. No evidence of trauma. Now, we are going to talk about that. It's very important that we discuss that because the autopsy is the cause of death, right? Remember we said that? Now, let's get in the toxicologist report. Let's get in the toxicologist report. That's it. Those are the body fluids that found inside the body. Remember, I explained that from the beginning. Okay, now listen to what I'm saying. On the toxicologist report, we are going to look for trace of drug in Kanika Jenkins' system. We are going to test for blood, urine, hair, sweat, and saliva with the toxicologist report. When you speak of toxicologist report, you are getting deep into the forensic part of the toxicologist report, okay? Now, the toxicologist report is also going to give you the result of the procedures that Kanika went through. Now, I explained that before. It's a long report, y'all. I explained it to y'all. Y'all have to go back and find it, okay? Now, now, that toxicologist report can also tell us whether Kanika had any prescription medication, which is drugs, in her system. And allegedly, I think Miss Teresa did say that allegedly that she saw she take some kind of pill, allegedly. Okay. Now, people, listen to this. Let's reverse back to her autopsy report. It never said that Kanika had two autopsies done on her. It was only one. Now, I have questions about the cause of Kanika's death that puzzled the heck out of me. So I had to go do some research. In Kanika Jenkins' autopsy reports, which explained the cause of her death, number one, her brain was swollen. If Kanika's brain was swollen, something allegedly happened to Kanika. We're going to get into that in a few minutes. Remember, in the autopsy report, it explained her blood level. It's no way, people, that this young lady in the video that the hotel showed us, it's no way if her brain was swollen and she has a blood level of 0.112, okay, higher than a 0.11 or 0.008. There's no way Kanika would have been walking around in that hotel, okay? Something ain't right with the autopsy report, okay? Also in the autopsy report, the alcohol and drug, if you mix together, we already know that they shouldn't have to tell us. They just gave us a definition of that, okay? In the autopsy report, after finding the swelling, that's all I'm hearing in the brain, Okay. The autopsy found no evidence or altercation with someone else before her death. How could they determine that if her brain is swollen? I'm going to explain this to y'all. Now, remember, we said the toxicology reports tell you about the bodily fluid inside the body, right? Inside the deceased body. The toxicologist is only going to do the forensic work. It's going to tell you about the blood, the urine, the hair, the sweat, and the saliva. Kanika got a long sheet for the toxicologist report. Okay. Now, okay. Okay. Now, listen up, y'all. Before I conclude about the toxicologist report and the autopsy report, I had strong questions, people. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm just letting y'all know that I did research. The question I asked was about the brain swelling. It told me that when the brain receives, listen carefully now, I asked the question, does the brain swell after death? And what research and resources told me that when the brain receives a powerful blow, swelling occurs just as it would in other parts of the body. I'm going to say it again. I asked the question. I said, does the brain swell after death? And they said that the brain, when the brain receives a powerful blow, swelling occurs just as it would in other parts of the body because the skull cannot expand. The brain tissue swells and the pressure inside the skull rises. And what is that telling you about Tanika then? Allegedly, they have to prove was Kanika hit with something, which her autopsy said there's no evidence of an altercation. How can they determine that if her brain was swollen? Now, it's something that called intracranial pressure. Okay. This pressure can prevent blood from floating to your brain. And how that occurs is has to deal with the swelling, the oxygen, the oxygen getting to the brain. That the brain isn't getting no oxygen. And they trying to say between the freezer temperature, Kanika in the freezer, and the temperature has to do something with her oxygen, which that don't make sense what I just said. Swelling can also block other fluids from leaving the brain. But what caused the swelling? And I just told you. Allegedly, allegedly. I'm going to say it for the last time and I'm going to be done with. Then I'm going to summarize my whole content. When the brain receives a powerful blow, swelling occurs just as it would in other parts of the body. Now, is this important in the Kanika Jenkins case? Yes. Now, I'm going to do my summary. People, I'm going to summarize what I spoke about today. Differences between an autopsy and versus a toxicologist report. An autopsy report only reports the causes of the death of the deceased person. And I just told y'all it was brain swelling, blood level was 0.112. And the drug, and okay, then nothing else they said. No evidence of altercation. Now, people, y'all know something wrong with the autopsy report. Right there. That's all they said. Swelling in the brain. Swelling in the brain came from bloat from somewhere, preventing the oxygen from preventing the body fluids from going to the brain to release pressure. Now, when you speak of the toxicologist report, we are going to find out the fluids, what's on the inside of Kanika body, the fluids, the bodily fluids inside her system. Was it drugs in her system? Was it alcohol in her system? Yes, because it has, the toxicologist report has to look for traces of drug, blood, urine, hair, sweat, and saliva, which the inside of the system. And to overall connect this, something not right with the autopsy and the toxicologist report. The autopsy is that girl brain is swollen. Allegedly, there was a powerful blow. Swelling occurs just as it would in any parts of the body because the skull cannot expand. Something happened allegedly. I can't prove it, but I'm just giving y'all my research. Something allegedly happened to Kanika Jenkins, and they got to have this proof because her brain was swollen. I don't know it all, people. I don't know nothing. I'm just giving y'all research findings because this is what it said about Kanika Jenkins. These are the reports coming about Kanika Jenkins. I appreciate y'all, those who listen and those who I came to help educate about the findings and the differences of what happened to Kanika Jenkins. Okay? This is your girl, the real deal, Anita Gibb. I love y'all. Y'all like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, okay? Don't forget to subscribe.